there are 15 things I absolutely refuse to spend money on as a professional organizer, and every single one of them once cluttered my home, drained my wallet, and weighed me down. Over the years, I learned that most of the items we think we need actually create more stress than comfort. If you've ever opened a drawer, a closet, or even your pantry and felt overwhelmed by too much stuff, you're not alone. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which things to stop buying so you can save space, save money, and enjoy the lighter, calmer lifestyle you truly deserve. Over the years, we've all collected things we thought we needed: an extra set of dishes, gadgets that promised to make life easier, or decor we bought on a whim. But instead of helping, many of these items now sit gathering dust. The truth is, clutter doesn't just take up space. It quietly drains our energy, steals our time, and even robs us of peace of mind. Every drawer that won't close, every shelf that feels too full, is a little reminder of what's weighing us down. And if you've ever looked around your home and felt frustrated, overwhelmed, or even guilty about all the stuff you rarely use, you are far from alone. This is something so many of us face, especially as life changes and priorities shift. The good news? Letting go of what no longer serves us doesn't just clear space. It creates freedom, clarity, and room for what truly matters most. Today, I'm going to share the 15 things I no longer spend money on, and why letting them go has made my life so much simpler, calmer, and more affordable. These aren't extreme changes or sacrifices. They're everyday choices that free up space in your home, time in your day, and even money in your pocket. And don't worry, I won't just tell you what to stop buying. I'll also give you practical alternatives that work better, last longer, and truly add value to your life. You might even find yourself thinking, why didn't I do this sooner? I guarantee at least one of these will surprise you, and maybe even challenge the way you've been shopping for years. By the end, you'll walk away with a fresh perspective and easy steps you can start using right away to create a lighter, more intentional lifestyle after 60. Duplicate kitchen gadgets. Let's start with something I see in almost every home. I've organized duplicate kitchen gadgets: peelers, spatulas, tongs, can openers. Somehow, we end up with 2, 3, or even 4 of the same thing. At first, it doesn't feel like a problem. After all, what harm can an extra potato peeler do? But over time, those extras pile up, filling drawers, hiding the tools we actually use, and creating little pockets of frustration. Have you ever tried to find your favorite utensil, only to dig through a jumble of nearly identical ones? That's clutter at work. It turns simple daily tasks into annoyances that chip away at our energy. The truth is, we don't need 3 peelers or 4 can openers. One good quality tool does the job. The extras don't make life easier. They just make drawers harder to manage. And if we're honest, most of the duplicates aren't even the ones we reach for. They're the dull, awkward, or uncomfortable ones that got pushed aside but never quite made it into the donation box. Here's the emotional piece. Duplicates often stick around because we think, what if I lose the good one? What if I need a backup? But that just in case mindset quietly adds weight to our homes and our minds. Every time we open that drawer, we're reminded of the extras we don't use. And the irony is, when we do need something, we almost always reach for the same favorite, reliable tool. The others just sit there, taking up space. So what's the solution? Instead of keeping multiples, choose the one that works best for you. The comfortable peeler that glides through potatoes, the sturdy can opener that doesn't slip, the spatula that feels just right in your hand. Keep that and let the rest go. If it helps, remind yourself, I'm choosing quality and simplicity over clutter. And here's a bonus: when you have fewer gadgets, your kitchen instantly feels calmer. Drawers open smoothly. You find what you need without digging. Cooking becomes less about searching and more about enjoying the process. It's a small change that creates a surprisingly big shift in how your space feels. If you're still worried about needing a backup, here's a practical alternative. Instead of holding on to spares, trust that if something truly breaks, you can replace it when you need to. Think of it like this: you're giving yourself the gift of space and clarity today, rather than holding on to clutter for a future problem that may never happen. Decluttering duplicates isn't just about tidying up a drawer. It's about reclaiming peace of mind. One strong, reliable tool is more than enough. And the freedom you feel when you open a drawer that's organized and easy to use, that's worth far more than any extra could ever give you. Fancy cleaning products. The second thing I no longer buy, and honestly wish I had stopped buying years ago, is fancy cleaning products. You know the ones. Brightly colored bottles promising triple action power, extra sparkle, or deep clean technology. At one point, my cabinet under the sink looked like a mini store aisle. Glass cleaner, floor cleaner, bathroom cleaner, oven spray, special granite spray, even a separate one for stainless steel. And every time I saw a new commercial, I thought, maybe this one will make cleaning easier. But here's what really happened. The bottles multiplied, took up valuable space, and half of them barely got used before expiring. Some even leaked, leaving sticky residue under the sink. And the truth? Most of them didn't work any better than the basics. What I ended up with was not a cleaner home, but more clutter, more chemicals, and more money wasted. Here's the emotional trap many of us fall into. Buying fancy cleaners gives us a feeling of control. We think, if I have the right spray, then my home will be sparkling and I'll feel on top of things. But the reality is, no bottle can replace consistent, simple habits. And when those bottles pile up, instead of feeling in control, we feel weighed down by another category of clutter. The turning point for me came when I discovered that two simple, inexpensive staples, vinegar and baking soda, did the work of nearly all those specialized products. Vinegar cleans glass, disinfects, and removes odors. Baking soda scrubs, deodorizes, and tackles stubborn stains. Together, they cover 90% of household cleaning needs. Add a little dish soap, and you're basically set. No rows of bottles, no wasted space, no constant trips to buy the latest miracle cleaner. And here's the real benefit. It's not just about space and money. Using fewer, gentler products also means fewer harsh chemicals in your home. For many of us, especially as we get older, strong chemical fumes can irritate lungs or trigger allergies. Why risk our health when the simple, natural solutions work just as well, if not better? So here's my advice. The next time you're tempted by a shiny, new bottle on the store shelf, pause and ask yourself, do I already have something at home that does this job just as well? Chances are, the answer is yes. And if you're worried about giving up your specialty cleaners, try an experiment. Pick one area, like your bathroom, and clean it for a month with vinegar, baking soda, and dish soap. You'll be surprised at how well it works and how little you miss the clutter of bottles. Decluttering your cleaning supplies isn't just about saving space under the sink. It's about saving money, protecting your health, and proving to yourself that simple really is better. Because at the end of the day, it's not the bottle that creates a clean, welcoming home, it's you. And you deserve tools that support your peace of mind, not shelves full of expensive promises that never quite deliver. Trendy health gadgets. The third thing I no longer spend money on is trendy health gadgets. You've seen them everywhere: step counters, fancy rollers, vibrating belts, foot massagers, posture correctors, and all kinds of miracle tools that promise to keep us fit, pain-free, and energized. They come with shiny ads and glowing reviews, convincing us that this little device is the secret to better health. For a while, I bought into it too. I thought, if I just had that gadget, maybe exercising would feel easier. Maybe I'd finally stick with it. But here's what really happened. Most of those gadgets ended up in the back of a drawer, the corner of a closet, or gathering dust under the bed. They seemed exciting at first, but after a week or two, they lost their charm. Some were uncomfortable to use, some were too complicated, and some simply didn't work at all. What I was left with was clutter, guilt for wasting money, and a quiet reminder of yet another failed attempt at being healthier. Here's the emotional truth. Many of us buy these gadgets because we're searching for hope. We want to feel stronger, healthier, more in control of our bodies as we age. And the marketing taps into that. But the reality is, no gadget can replace consistency. True health doesn't come from a drawer full of devices. It comes from simple, everyday habits that we actually enjoy and stick with. For me, the breakthrough was realizing that walking outdoors gave me far more benefit than any gadget ever did. Fresh air, movement, sunshine, it lifted my mood, helped my joints, and didn't cost a dime. A set of light hand weights and a resistance band have been more valuable to me than any fancy machine I bought years ago. They're simple, effective, and easy to use in a small space. And here's something else. Many trendy gadgets overcomplicate things. Instead of motivating us, they make us feel overwhelmed. We try them once or twice, don't get results, and then feel discouraged. But it's not our fault. It's the design of the product. The companies make money selling us promises, not lasting habits. So here's my advice. Before buying any health gadget, ask yourself, will I honestly use this more than once or twice a week? If the answer is no, save your money and your space. Instead, invest in something simple that supports the basics. Good walking shoes, a yoga mat, or even just a water bottle that encourages you to stay hydrated. Those things may not look flashy, but they actually help you build consistency, which is what matters most. Letting go of trendy health gadgets isn't about giving up on yourself, it's about choosing tools that truly serve you, instead of ones that add to the pile of unused stuff in your home. Because real health comes from simplicity, not clutter, and the peace of knowing you don't need a drawer full of gadgets to take care of yourself. That's worth more than any shiny miracle device could ever promise. Excess mugs and cups. The fourth thing I no longer buy, or keep piling up, is excess mugs and cups. For some reason, mugs seem to multiply in every household. They come as gifts, souvenirs, holiday freebies, or even those buy one, get 1-inch deals that feel too good to pass up. Before I knew it, my cabinets were overflowing. Rows of mugs stacked on top of each other. Some chipped, some never used. Some with funny slogans that made me smile for about 5 seconds in the store. But here's the honest truth. I reach for the same 2 mugs every morning. One for coffee, one for tea. They're the ones that feel good in my hand, the right size, the right shape. The rest? They just sit there, gathering dust, crowding the shelves, and making it harder to put dishes away. And every time I opened that cabinet, instead of feeling calm, I felt cluttered. The emotional part is this. Mugs often hold memories. A world's best grandma mug from Mother's Day, a souvenir from a trip years ago, a mug that reminds us of a special friend. It can feel wrong to let them go, as if we're letting go of the memory itself. But here's what I realized. The memory isn't in the mug. The memory lives in me. The love from a child, the joy of a trip, the connection with a friend. That doesn't disappear just because. I choose not to keep a dusty cup in the cabinet. And when I reframed it that way, I found freedom. I chose to keep a small handful of mugs that truly mattered, my daily favorites. Plus maybe 1 or 2 sentimental ones that genuinely bring me joy when I see them. The rest? I donated them, knowing they would actually get used and appreciated by someone else. There's also a practical benefit. With fewer mugs, my cabinets instantly felt lighter and easier to manage. No more stacking cups precariously. No more shuffling things around to find space. Just a clean, organized shelf where everything has a place. And the surprising part? Letting go of excess mugs actually made the ones I kept feel more special, instead of being lost in the crowd. My favorite mug stands out and feels like a small daily luxury. So here's my advice. Open your mug cabinet and ask yourself, which ones do I actually use every week? Keep those. Then pick 1 or 2 that carry the strongest positive memories. Let the rest go. You don't need 20 mugs to feel happy. You need just a few that truly serve you. When we simplify even something as small as a mug collection, it creates a ripple effect. Less clutter, more space, and a little bit of calm every morning when we start our day. And after all, life after 60 is about cherishing what really matters, not managing a cupboard full of cups we never use. Single-purpose appliances. The fifth thing I no longer buy is single-purpose appliances. You know the ones: quesadilla makers, hot dog toasters, egg cookers, popcorn machines, waffle sticks, even that gadget that only makes mini donuts. They sound fun in the store or look clever in an ad. The promise is tempting. This will make cooking easier, faster, maybe even more exciting. So, we bring them home, use them once or twice, and then reality sets in. They take up space, they're awkward to clean, and before long they're shoved into the back of a cabinet, quietly gathering dust. I'll admit it, I once had a quesadilla maker, and do you know what I realized? My skillet did the exact same job, only better. It heated more evenly, was easier to clean, and didn't require a special plug or storage space. That was the moment it clicked for me. Most single-purpose appliances duplicate what a basic, versatile pan, or oven can already do. They don't simplify our lives. They complicate them. The emotional side of this is subtle but powerful. Many of us buy these appliances during a season of excitement. Maybe we thought we'd entertain more, or cook more adventurous meals, or pick up a new hobby. The appliance represented possibility. But when the novelty wears off, what we're left with is not joy, but clutter, and sometimes even guilt. Guilt that we spent the money. Guilt that we didn't use it enough. Guilt that it's just sitting there. Here's the shift that freed me. Instead of focusing on the fantasy of what an appliance might do, I started asking, how often will I actually use this? If the answer was less than once a week, I didn't buy it. And suddenly, my kitchen felt so much lighter. The basics, a sturdy skillet, a good pot, a baking sheet, did 90% of the work. And the bonus? Fewer gadgets means less storage stress, less cleaning, and more counter space to actually enjoy cooking. So here's a practical tip before buying a new appliance. Imagine where you'll store it. If the answer is crammed in the back of a cabinet, or on the counter taking up space, that's a red flag. And ask yourself, can I do the same thing with what I already own? Most of the time, the answer is yes. Letting go of single-purpose appliances isn't just about decluttering your kitchen. It's about letting go of false promises. We don't need a dozen gadgets to create good food or good memories. We just need a few reliable tools, a little creativity, and the people we love around the table. And that, in the end, feels so much richer than any miracle appliance ever could. Overstocked pantry items. The sixth thing I no longer buy is overstocked pantry items. You know the story. You walk into the grocery store, see canned soup on sale for $10 or pasta being offered in bulk, and suddenly you're filling the cart with extras you didn't plan to buy. It feels smart in the moment. After all, who doesn't love a deal? And there's that little voice in our heads whispering, better stock up, just in case. But here's what happens over time. Those 12 cans of beans, they get shoved to the back of the shelf. The giant bag of rice, half of it goes stale before we ever use it. The extra pasta boxes, they're forgotten behind newer ones. Before long, the pantry isn't a place of order. It's a maze of half-opened bags, expired cans, and mystery containers. Instead of saving us money, it costs us, because wasted food is wasted dollars. And the emotional cost? That subtle stress every time we open the door and feel overwhelmed by too much. I've seen this pattern in so many homes I've organized. The intention is good. We want to be prepared, we want to save money, and we don't want to run out of essentials. But the reality is, most of us don't cook through those just-in-case purchases fast enough. They sit, they expire, and they become clutter instead of comfort. For me, the turning point was realizing that I only truly needed a modest backup of the foods I use regularly. Instead of buying 12 cans because they're on sale, I keep 2 or 3 on hand, knowing I can always buy more when I need them. Instead of stockpiling 5 bags of flour, I keep 1 fresh bag and use it up before buying another. My pantry feels lighter, easier to navigate, and nothing gets wasted. Here's the emotional truth. Stocking up can sometimes come from a place of fear. Many of us who grew up in times when resources were scarce still carry that mindset. We tell ourselves, if I have more, I'll feel secure. But real security doesn't come from shelves bursting with food we may never eat. It comes from trusting that we'll always be able to get what we need when we need it. So here's a practical approach. Before adding to your pantry, ask yourself 2 questions. Do I use this regularly? And will I eat it within the next month? If the answer is no, leave it on the shelf. And instead of shopping for just in case, try shopping for just enough. You'll save money, reduce waste, and enjoy a pantry that feels open and stress-free. Clearing out overstocked pantry items doesn't just free up shelves. It frees your mind from the low-grade guilt of wasted food and the overwhelm of excess. And when your pantry contains only what you actually use, it stops being a storage problem and becomes a source of peace. Cheap storage bins. The 7th thing I no longer spend money on is cheap storage bins. You've probably seen them, colorful plastic totes, flimsy baskets, or those dollar store organizers that promise to tidy up your home instantly. For a long time, I thought bins were the solution to clutter. I bought them for closets, under the bed, the pantry, even the garage. For a while, it felt satisfying. Everything looked contained. The piles were hidden, The shelves looked neat. But here's the truth I eventually realized. Cheap bins don't solve clutter. They hide it. Instead of reducing the number of things I owned, they simply gave me more places to stash stuff I didn't actually need. And before long, I had bins inside of bins, layers of plastic filled with forgotten items. Finding anything became harder, not easier. What I had done was organize my clutter, not eliminate it. The emotional part is powerful. Buying bins gives us a sense of control. We feel like we're doing something about the mess. And for a moment, it works. Our space looks cleaner. But behind that neat facade, the weight of clutter is still there. And in many cases, those cheap bins crack, warp, or break within a year, leaving us with more plastic waste and another reason to spend money. What finally changed for me was understanding that storage isn't the answer, simplicity is. When you own fewer things, you need fewer containers. A well-organized shelf with only what you actually use feels far better than 10 stacked bins, full of just-in-case items you rarely touch. Instead of spending money on bins, I started asking myself, do I really need to keep this at all? If the answer was no, I let it go, and suddenly, the need for bins disappeared on its own. That doesn't mean storage is useless. A few sturdy, high-quality containers can be helpful for seasonal items, like holiday decorations or sentimental keepsakes. But the key is to be intentional. One good container beats 5 flimsy ones that end up cracked and overflowing. Here's a practical step before buying a new bin. Take a moment and ask, am I solving clutter, or am I just shifting it around? If you can declutter the contents first, you may not need the bin at all. And if you do, invest in something strong that will last for years, not months. Letting go of cheap storage bins isn't about giving up on being organized. It's about choosing a different path, one where your home feels lighter, because you've kept only what you truly need and love, instead of spending money on plastic to hide the rest. When the clutter is gone, the calm you feel every time you open a closet or a drawer will last much longer than any dollar store bin ever could. Knickknacks and dust collectors. The 8th thing I no longer spend money on is knickknacks and dust collectors. For years, I filled shelves, mantles, and side tables with little figurines, souvenirs, and trinkets. Some were gifts, some were bought on trips. Others were picked up because they were cute or on sale. At first, they felt like decorations that made my house more personal. But over time, they became something else entirely, a burden. The truth is, if an item doesn't bring real joy or serve a purpose, it's just another thing to dust, to rearrange, or to pack away. And dusting a shelf full of tiny figurines isn't fun, it's work. Every piece might seem small, but together they take up space, add visual clutter, and quietly drain energy. I began to notice that instead of feeling warm when I looked at my shelves, I felt tired. The emotional side of this is important. Many knickknacks hold memories. That little statue from a vacation, the gift from a friend, the family heirloom passed down. It can feel ungrateful or even wrong to let them go. But here's what I realized. The memory isn't in the object. It's in the story, the moment, the connection. Letting go of an item doesn't erase the experience or the love behind it. I kept the pieces that truly meant something to me, the ones that sparked joy every time I saw them, but I released the rest. And here's the surprise. By keeping fewer, the ones that remained stood out more. They became special, not lost in a sea of clutter. A single meaningful photo frame or vase can save far more than a dozen dust collectors ever could. There's also a practical benefit. Fewer knickknacks means less to clean and less to manage. It frees up time and energy, 2 things that become even more valuable as we get older. Instead of dusting shelves, I'd rather spend that time reading, calling a friend, or enjoying the outdoors. Here's a practical step. Walk through your living room or bedroom and look closely at your shelves. Pick up each item and ask yourself, does this bring me joy every time I see it? Or is it just something I've gotten used to keeping? If it doesn't spark joy or serve a purpose, it might be time to let it go. Donate it, gift it, or simply thank it for the memory and release it. Letting go of knickknacks isn't about stripping your home of personality. It's about creating space for what truly matters, the people, the experiences, and the few special items that tell your story. When your shelves and tables aren't weighed down with clutter, your home feels calmer, your mind feels lighter, and you gain more freedom to live fully in the present. without being buried under the past. Paper clutter, flyers, old mail, manuals. The ninth thing I no longer buy or allow to pile up is paper clutter. Flyers, old mail, takeout menus, outdated receipts, instruction manuals. They sneak into our homes little by little until suddenly every counter, drawer, and basket is overflowing. I used to keep piles of papers just in case. I thought, what if I need that coupon? What if I need to read that flyer again? What if I lose the instructions for this appliance? Before long, my desk was buried. My kitchen counter was covered, and I dreaded sorting through stacks of papers that seemed endless. Here's the truth. Almost everything is online now. Company flyers? Available on their website. Takeout menus? Just a quick search away. Instruction manuals? You can download them in minutes from the manufacturer's site. Even old bills and bank statements can be accessed digitally. The piles of paper we hold on to rarely get touched again. What they actually do is clutter our space, weigh down our minds, and give us yet another chore we don't want to deal with. The emotional side is real, though. Many of us grew up in a time when paper was important, when you needed physical copies of everything, because there was no other way to access information. Letting go of that habit can feel risky, even uncomfortable. It feels like we're losing a safety net. But what I've learned is that keeping endless stacks of outdated paper doesn't protect us, it overwhelms us. The shift for me came when I created a simple system. I keep one small file for truly important documents, medical papers, tax records, legal information. Everything else gets recycled or shredded once it's no longer useful. If I need it, I know I can find it online. My counters are clear, my drawers are manageable, and I no longer feel buried in piles I dread sorting. Here's a practical step you can try. The next time you bring in the mail, deal with it immediately. Recycle the flyers, shred the junk, and keep only what's important. Don't let it sit on the counter, because once it piles up, it multiplies. As for old manuals, pick one drawer and gather them all. Then ask yourself, have I looked at this in the last 5 years? Could I find it online if I needed it? You'll probably realize you don't need to keep most of them. Decluttering paper is about more than freeing up space. It's about freeing your mind. A clear surface feels like a breath of fresh air. No piles nagging at you. No silent weight sitting in the corner. Instead, you gain clarity, order, and peace of mind. And that feels so much better than holding onto just in case papers that never get used. Duplicate linens and towels. The 10th thing I no longer spend money on is duplicate linens and towels. For years, my linen closet was overflowing, sheets in every color, pillowcases without matching sets, towels that were thin, scratchy, or frayed at the edges. Some were decades old, others were backups I never actually used. I thought I was being prepared. After all, who doesn't need extra towels for guests? Or a closet full of spare sheets just in case? But here's the reality. The closet was so crammed I could barely close the door. And when I needed something, I always reached for the same few sets, the ones that felt soft, fresh, and reliable. The truth is, a few quality sets beat a closet full of worn-out ones. We don't need 10 sheet sets for one bed. We don't need a tower of towels when we only use a small rotation. All the extras don't add comfort, they add clutter. And instead of feeling prepared, I often felt overwhelmed, guilty for holding on to items that were clearly past their prime. There's also an emotional layer here. Many of us keep old linens because they were still good enough, or because they carried memories. Maybe those faded sheets were on our kids' beds years ago. Maybe those old towels came from a first home. It can feel wasteful or sentimental to let them go. But I realized something important. Linens are meant to be used and enjoyed, not stored away indefinitely. If they're worn, scratchy, or never leave the closet, they're not serving us anymore. My turning point came when I decided to pare down. I kept just 2 or 3 good sheet sets per bed, enough to rotate and wash easily. I kept the best towels, the ones that made me feel comfortable, and cared for after a shower, and I let the rest go. Some became rags for cleaning. Others I donated, knowing they'd be useful to someone who truly needed them. Suddenly, my linen closet looked spacious, calm, and manageable. And every time I reached for something, it was something I actually enjoyed using. Here's a practical tip. Open your linen closet and pull everything out. Touch each towel and sheet set. Ask yourself, would I want to use this today? If the answer is no, if it feels too thin, too faded, or too old, it's time to let it go. Keep only the sets that make you feel good and serve your current lifestyle. Simplifying linens isn't just about freeing up space. It's about adding comfort to your everyday life. When you only keep the best, your home feels more intentional. And instead of a closet that makes you sigh every time you open it, you'll have one that brings a quiet sense of peace and order. That's a small but powerful shift, and one that makes life after 60 feel lighter and more enjoyable. Impulse decor items. The 11th thing I no longer buy is impulse decor items. You know the ones, you're walking through a store, you see a cute sign, a trendy vase, or a decorative pillow with a cheerful quote, and you think, that would look perfect in my living room. It's exciting in the moment. We imagine how it will transform a space, how it will feel to bring something fresh into our home. So we buy it, bring it back, and somehow, it doesn't look quite right. It clashes with what we already have, or it feels out of place. Eventually, it gets tucked onto a crowded shelf, stuffed in a closet, or donated years later with the tag still on. For me, I realized impulse decor wasn't adding beauty, it was adding clutter. My home didn't look more personal. It looked busier. And instead of feeling calm, I felt distracted by too many little things that didn't really fit. The emotional side is powerful. Decor shopping can fill an emotional gap. Sometimes we buy because we're bored, or lonely, or wanting change. That little purchase gives us a burst of happiness, but it fades quickly. What's left is another object to dust, store, and eventually discard. What I've learned is that less truly is more. Instead of filling my home with random pieces, I choose just a few meaningful items, family photos and beautiful frames. 1 or 2 pieces of art I truly love, or a plant that brings life into a room. These things don't just look cute, they make my space feel like me. Here's a practical tip. Before buying decor, pause and ask yourself, do I already have a place for this? Does it truly fit my home and my style? Or am I just buying for the thrill of the moment? If it's the latter, walk away. Often, the desire fades once we leave the store. Letting go of impulse decor doesn't mean living in a bare space. It means creating a home that feels intentional, peaceful, and welcoming. Because the truth is, beauty doesn't come from more things. It comes from surrounding ourselves with fewer, more meaningful ones that tell our story. Expired beauty and health products. The 12th thing I no longer let pile up is expired beauty and health products. Cabinets and drawers can so easily become graveyards for half-used lotions, old makeup, expired vitamins, and prescription bottles from years ago. At first, we tell ourselves we'll use them someday. Or maybe we keep them because we don't want to waste money by throwing them away. But here's the truth. These items don't just clutter our cabinets. They can actually be unsafe. Old skincare and makeup can lose their effectiveness and even cause irritation or infections. Expired vitamins and medicines may not work the way they should, and in some cases, they can be harmful. Yet many of us keep them out of habit or because we simply forget to check the dates. I remember opening my bathroom cabinet one day and realizing I had products over a decade old. They weren't helping me anymore, just taking up space and creating silent stress. There's also an emotional side here. Beauty products, especially, can carry little promises. That face cream we hoped would make us look younger. The lipstick we bought for a special occasion. Letting them go can feel like letting go of those hopes or memories. But I realized the real gift is in making room for what serves me now. Keeping a cabinet of expired items doesn't honor my health, it clutters it. Here's a simple step you can try. Pick one shelf or drawer and check every label. If it's expired, dried up, or hasn't been used in years, it's time to let it go. For prescription medicines, take them to a pharmacy that offers safe disposal. Replace what you actually need with just a few reliable essentials you use regularly. The result is powerful. Instead of a cabinet packed with things that nag at you every time you open it, you'll have a small, intentional collection that supports your health and self-care today. You'll save time, avoid risk, and create a little more peace of mind. Because nothing feels better than knowing your home is stocked with items that are fresh, safe, and truly useful. Extra sets of dishes. The 13th thing I've stopped buying and started letting go of is extra sets of dishes. At one point, my cupboards looked like I was running a small restaurant. Everyday plates, holiday plates, just-in-case plates, plus stacks of mugs and serving bowls I rarely touched. It gave me a strange sense of comfort to have so much on hand, like I was prepared for every possible dinner party or family gathering. But when I really looked at how I was living day to day, I realized I was holding on to a version of life that no longer matched reality. The truth is, most of us don't host large dinner parties the way we once did. Our homes may be quieter now. Maybe the kids and grandkids come over occasionally, or we have a few close friends for dinner. But the truth is, we use the same set of dishes over and over, the ones we like best, the ones that are easy to reach, the ones that feel comfortable. The rest just sit in the back of the cabinet, taking up space and adding weight every time we open the door. There's also an emotional layer here. Dishes often carry memories, wedding china, holiday sets, or hand-me-downs from family. Letting go can feel like letting go of history. But what I've learned is that keeping a few special pieces to actually use is more meaningful than storing entire sets we never touch. A memory isn't in the stack of plates. It's in the moments we share around the table. My turning point came when I donated one full set of dishes I hadn't used in years. Suddenly, my cabinets were easier to navigate. I no longer risked a small avalanche every time I reached for a plate. Cooking and cleaning felt lighter because I wasn't managing more than I needed. Here's a tip: choose one every day. Set you love and one special occasion. Set if it truly brings you joy. The rest can be passed on to someone who will actually use them. Not only will you free space in your kitchen, you'll also free yourself from the silent clutter of storing a life you're not actually living anymore. Living with fewer dishes doesn't mean you're unprepared. It means your kitchen works for the life you have now. And that life can be simpler, calmer, and easier to enjoy. Unused exercise equipment. The 14th thing I no longer spend money on is unused exercise equipment. At one time, I had a corner of my home that looked like a mini gym: weights, resistance bands, a treadmill, even one of those contraptions that promised miracles on late night TV. I bought them with the best intentions, believing each new gadget would finally motivate me to exercise more. But do you know what happened? Most of it became very expensive dust collectors. Some pieces turned into clothes racks. Others were pushed into the garage and forgotten. The truth is, exercise equipment often sells us a dream that if we buy it, we'll suddenly change our habits. But habits aren't built on purchases. They're built on small, consistent choices. And the best part? The most effective form of exercise costs nothing at all: walking. Walking outdoors not only strengthens our body, it clears our mind, lifts our mood, and connects us with the world around us. Fresh air, sunshine, even a short stroll after dinner. It all does more for our health than a treadmill we never step on. There's also an emotional layer. Many of us hold on to unused equipment because it represents guilt or someday. We think, I should use that. I'll start next week. But every time we see it, we feel a little worse about ourselves. Letting go isn't admitting defeat, it's choosing a better way. When I finally donated my unused treadmill, it felt like a weight lifted. I wasn't staring at guilt anymore. I was free to enjoy the kinds of movement I actually loved. Here's a simple tip. If you have equipment gathering dust, ask yourself, when was the last time I used this? If it's been over a year, it's probably not serving you. Consider donating it to someone who will put it to good use. Then, replace it with free, enjoyable movement: walking, stretching, or even dancing in the kitchen. Movement doesn't require a membership or a machine. It requires presence, joy, and consistency. When we stop cluttering our homes with unused equipment, we open space for healthier, more natural ways to stay active, ways that fit who we are today. Just in case purchases. The 15th and final thing I no longer waste money or space on is those just in case purchases. You know the ones. We pick up an extra set of batteries, a spare flashlight, a third raincoat, or some gadget we're convinced we'll need someday. The thought sounds practical in the moment, better safe than sorry. But here's the reality: 99% of the time, that just in case never comes. And what's left is a closet or drawer filled with things we don't use, but feel guilty throwing away. When I looked around my own home, I realized how much just-in-case thinking had cost me. I had extra extension cords, unopened craft supplies, kitchen gadgets I bought just in case I bake more, even backup sets of sheets I never touched. All of it silently cluttered my home and weighed me down. What I thought was being prepared was really just fear disguised as planning. Here's the emotional truth. Most of us buy just in case items because we're afraid of being unprepared, or because in the past, we went without something we needed. But life has shown me this. When that rare occasion comes, we almost always find a solution. A neighbor lends us what we need. A store trip takes care of it. Or we realize we didn't really need it after all. Letting go of just in case thinking is freeing. It means trusting ourselves and our resourcefulness instead of stockpiling stuff. These days, I keep a small stash of true essentials, basic tools, a flashlight, a few household items I use often. Everything else, I let go. And you know what? My home feels lighter, and I don't miss a single thing I donated. Here's a tip. Next time you're about to buy something just in case, pause and ask, when have I actually needed this before? If you can't think of a recent time, you probably don't need it. Instead, give yourself permission to wait until the need really arises. Because the truth is, peace of mind doesn't come from stockpiling clutter. It comes from knowing your home is filled only with what serves you today. And that's the kind of security that makes life simpler, calmer, and easier to enjoy. I once had a drawer full of fancy kitchen gadgets I thought I couldn't live without. Yet day after day, I always reached for the same reliable knife. The same was true with linens. Letting go of old towels felt hard at first because some carried memories. But over time, I realized something powerful. The memory isn't in the fabric, it's in me. Holding on to clutter doesn't preserve the past. It only weighs down the present. Simplifying isn't about losing things, it's about gaining freedom. Freedom from overwhelm, freedom from guilt, and freedom to enjoy the life you're living now. When we let go of the excess, we create space for peace, clarity, and the things that truly matter. Now, when I open a drawer, I don't feel stress or frustration, I feel peace. Every item has a place, and every piece truly serves me. That's the gift of simplifying. Less clutter doesn't just clear our homes, it clears our minds and hearts. It gives us more time and energy for what really matters: family, health, and joy. We're not losing anything when we let go. We're making space for a life that feels lighter, calmer, and more meaningful. Which of these 15 items do you still hold on to? Or maybe there's something you've already stopped buying that made your life easier? Share it in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories and learn from your experiences. Conversations like these remind us we're not alone on this journey. And if this video inspired you to rethink even one purchase, give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe for more simple, practical ways to live lighter and happier after 60. Together, we can create homes and lives that feel calmer, freer, and more joyful.